everybody's going to have to look at the fundamentals of the economy. When they start doing that, which I think they started to do last week, when they started doing that last week, what do you see? You see nothing but bad news. The underlying fundamentals went from the greatest in the history of the nation to being just flat out lousy, because now we're losing labor participation that nobody seems to want to talk about. As a matter of fact, I've seen some great people just flat out lying about it. And so we're losing labor participation. We've got lots of necessary jobs that need to get filled that can't. We've got a threat of China and a threat from Russia that is hanging over our heads in a very heavy way. Not only is the threat from China hanging over our heads, the threats that they're actually verbally making, but there's a common sense threat that says to any of us who are concerned about national security to understand that America has never been in a place of weakness to this extent, where this is an ideal time for anybody that wants to interfere further with our economy or interfere further in our growth or our exceptionalism or wants to fight with us. We heard China this morning say that they will go to arms against us and will fight to the end. That should worry us that it's even coming up in a public forum. It doesn't matter if it's saber rattling or not, just the fact that they're even bringing that up, China, that is. They feel very empowered by this president. This president has had no ability to empower the American worker, to empower the American economy, to empower the American business person, manufacturing, service sector, to get people back to work. He hasn't been able to empower any of that, but he has empowered China and Russia a great, great deal, telling Russia, well, you better not invade Ukraine or there's going to be economic consequence. Not, you will not invade Ukraine or your soldiers will only go home in body bags. Nothing like that. He's not trying to prevent. He didn't draw a line to say, don't even think about it. He drew a line to say, well, if you do, there may be some economic consequence. That's not really a viable threat to Russia. So these are the kinds of, at every turn, he has shown weakness. And if you're an analyst, if you are worried about the markets, if you are worried about your portfolio, you have to be looking at these things and understand this ought to be of great concern. This is going to impact our economy and maybe in a very dramatic way. So the question I would say is, I wouldn't be worried if we were in a Cold War where we knew that the battle was going to be fought on a battlefield and it was going to be just a horrifying, bloody mess. Believe it or not, that wouldn't be as bad as the way we think now. Now we're thinking of cyber attacks. We're thinking of financial systems being shut down. We're thinking about electrical grid systems being shut down. I mean, they're the kinds of things that China's thinking, or worse yet, we're thinking of another pandemic, and this would be a pandemic that would be coming out of the great experiment of COVID, as they have watched how that's developed and what has happened. They have seen the power of that. They have seen the power of that for them to move ahead a number of steps. And if you can't beat your opponent, sometimes the best thing you can do is slow your opponent down, even if you have to cheat, so that you can get ahead a little bit. And China is learning from that. Here's one way we become the superpower, is we take the current superpower and push them down and hold them back so that we can catch up. And once we catch up, It won't be hard to pass that. Hey, remember to click the subscribe button right here on the screen. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when new content is added. And more importantly than anything, you don't want to miss all 3 live hours of Financial Issues every day from 9 to noon. And you can watch it on FISM.tv. That's FISM.tv.